Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me. I'm Rob. Let's get the show on the road.
We can't. This is not a mobile show. I keep telling you this is not a mobile show. We can't get the show on the road.
We can make it that way.
We could, but we'd have to live near each other and have a car with enough room for us to sit in and record.
Or we get an RV and we could drive to each other.
Well, an RV is still a car.
A really big car.
Yes,
that you could sleep in laying down in a bed. Listen,
I can sleep in a car. I've done it before.
I've definitely done that before. And I've actually Jetta. Very uncomfortable.
So today starts our state of the team series that we're going to do here, kind of go over each position group here for you guys and where everything's at here. So this is a unusual episode for us since it is a Friday. We had a little bit of odd schedules here this week, so unfortunately we had to cancel the one on Wednesday. We have never once since we've started this show in the regular season of last year. We first started the show, I think we did 2 episodes a week for the first couple weeks during the preseason. Not this season, but the prior season when we first started. Since the regular season of 2022, we have never done less than 3 episodes in a week. We're not allowed to have that happen. So we're going to give you guys a special Friday episode here. We do have to pre-record it though. My fault. I forgot I had plans, and so we got to go ahead and pre-record this one here. But again, we're going to start our series.
Sorry, guys.
The state of the team here. We're going to start off with, of course, the most important position on the entire team, and that's the punt returner. I know we're the kicker,
the gunner. Duh.
No, of course it's the quarterback, guys. Let's be honest here. If you don't have a quarterback, you're kind of screwed. If you do have a quarterback, you're in pretty good shape. It's that simple of a positional strength at that point there. It's that important. So we're going to start going over, of course, obviously who we have now, who we had last season, who we could potentially sign, trade, and, of course, draft. Oh, yes, the draft. So
welcome to
let's
the draft,
start off,
baby.
of course, with who we had last year. Oh, yes. Because that's the big one here is, it was the biggest issue this year to me. It really was. Besides the injuries, which injuries happen every single year, to me, the biggest issue with this team is the lack of an offense, which to me was a direct result of the quarterback play. We got to start off.
I was going to say, you're not wrong. There's definitely problems at the line. And the line seemed to improve, oddly, when Evan Neal was not in there. But,
yeah.
But, I mean, the offense did operate.
Sure.
Yeah. The offense did operate pretty well with a third string in there. But anyway, onwards and upwards.
Yeah. So let's go over the first guy, though, because this is the big guy. This is the big payday guy. This is the guy who is going to make $40 million next year to basically stink. And that's Daniel Jones. And listen, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he turns it around next year. It'd be a nice conundrum to have. We got a quarterback, and he comes back to what he was in 2022. But Daniel Jones on the year, 6 games played, 67.5% completion percentage, 909 yards passing, with his just a 5.7 yard average, by the way. That's not very good. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, sacked 6 times. A quarterback rating of just 70.5. Yeah.
That sounds
not very good.
Great. It's passing.
So Daniel Jones is under contract. I don't see him necessarily leaving this team, guys. I mean, I hate to say we've talked about before about possible scenarios. There is ways to get rid of him. Don't get me wrong. You'd have to trade him, which good luck trying to find somebody who wants to take on this contract. Again, keep in mind the bonus money and all gets paid by us, so they're not paying him $40 million. But I couldn't tell you a single team that'd be like, let's pay this man $20 million right now. If he was to hit the open market, I don't think a goddamn team would pay him $20 million.
Commanders.
No, I don't think they would either. I mean, granted,
yeah.
they're probably the only team that would be interested because he's the only team he can beat. In his career, it's like half his wins are against the Commanders.
Practically.
But we're probably going to be stuck. We're probably going to be stuck with him. We got, of course, his backup last year, Tyrod Taylor, 11 games played, 64.4% completion percentage, 1,341 yards passing, a 7.4 yard average there, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, sacked 17 times, 89.1 quarterback rating. I think it's safe to say, and we've said it before, so I don't want to beat a dead horse here because I just feel bad.
That's
for
not
the
very
horse.
nice anyway.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. At least just make it some glue or purina and move on. But
yeah,
in the end, Tyrod Taylor's gone, guys. He's an older quarterback. He's a solid backup quarterback. There's a team that's going to want to put him in, either be a mentor for a young quarterback or, insurance for a quarterback that may be good but is often injured. That kind of scenario. And
Carolina.
He's going to make some money. He's going to make some money, guys. I don't think Carolina, to be honest, I think Carolina wants nothing to do with any quarterback but Bryce Young. Because
not to
get too much on tangent there, but Andy Dalton versus Seattle had that offense running the best it was running all year long. I don't even think that team is as bad as people think it is. I think Bryce Young's as bad as that is.
I mean, he's also a rookie quarterback, but a very headstrong owner. I'm just saying, you want to talk about a mentor.
He's got his shortcomings.
That's only because he's 5'9".
But like I said, I think Tyrod Taylor goes somewhere like that. I don't think he sticks around. We have 2 quarterbacks under contract. We'll get to the third one in there in a minute that we had this year. This is going to be on contract next year. I think that we're obviously going to look to add to this room, and it's hard to add to the room if you keep bringing people back. Eventually, you run out of spots. So he's going to be the odd man out probably. And of course, you had Tommy DeVito.
Mr. Cutlets himself.
Yes, Tommy Cutlets. 9 games he was in overall. 64% completion percentage, 1,101 yards passing, 6.2 yard average there. 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, sacked 37 times, guys. 89.2% QB rating. So interesting that both these 2 guys we just mentioned, the last 2, Tyrod and Tommy DeVito, 89 on the QB rating, almost exact difference of 0.1. And Daniel Jones 70.5. And I granted the injuries are worse than the beginning of the year. There's an excuse there, but there's always an excuse for Daniel Jones. If you love Daniel Jones, you'll find an excuse for him. You will always find an excuse for him, whether it's the line, the coaching, the receivers. Puppies. Yeah, it's just and it's just to me, it's time to move on from Daniel Jones, and I think one more year because of the contract, and he'll be gone. I think Tyrod Taylor will be gone, like I said, this offseason. And I think Tommy DeVito is Tommy DeVito, as much as he's under contract right now and was a great story this year, guys, I'm not so sure he's going to stick around either. Because I think what's going to end up happening is I think we're going to get a second quarterback to compete with Daniel Jones. And part of this is assuming Daniel Jones' health, obviously. He's coming back from an ACL tear. He's had neck injuries. He's had all these injuries, So assuming his health and everything is correct, Daniel Jones goes in, competes with the second guy for the starting job. Whichever person loses is the backup. Whichever person wins is the starter. And you get somebody to be in the practice squad at that point. Do you want to sit Tommy DeVito on a practice squad? Does Tommy DeVito want to sit on a practice squad at this point?
I mean, he may. I mean, Jersey boy, loves the Giants.
Yeah.
Loves his Cutlets. He took less money to stay the Giant.
He took less money because he saw the opportunity the Giants provided. He's gotten that opportunity now. And now he's at the point now, if he wants to go ahead and, do something, he can elsewhere. He's proven he's a legit quarterback in this league. Now, when I say legit quarterback, guys, let me not
legit backup.
change. Yeah, he's a legit person who can get a roster spot in this league. I'm not saying he's a starting quarterback. I'm not saying he's an all-pro. I'm not talking anything out of my butt there. But he's a guy who legitimately could be on a roster in the NFL, and you wouldn't go, oh, that's weird. That guy wouldn't make it, do you think? So
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to carry him, especially because he's got $1 million cap hit right now, where you can get some other young kid like they did with him last year, pay him a couple $100,000 to sit in the practice squad, and save a little money.
I mean, you get to the point where it's is it $500,000 like this
With this,
you're going to save
this
what,
roster,
$500,000
with this roster and the holes we have.
I hear what you're saying, but also $500,000 you get the fans all tuned in, like, oh, DeVito's back. Because us as Giants fans, we love that underdog story. We love our homegrown guys, and I don't know. It might be a marketing thing to keep them. You keep them, and it might make the Giants organization more money by keeping that $500,000. Then it might profit off it.
Even if we keep him hypothetically, and we put him on the practice squad, because I don't think we'll carry 3 quarterbacks.
No,
another team might even pick him up off our practice squad. So we'll have to see what happens there. But it wouldn't shock me at all if Tommy DeVito is not a New York Giant next year. Tyrod Taylor, I would be shocked if he's a New York Giant. And Daniel Jones, I'd be happy if he's not a New York Giant. And that's not a knock on Daniel Jones. I think it's just time. It's like Evan Ingram. It was just time. The divorce needed to happen.
Yeah. Listen, you could live a happy, healthy life after divorce. And that's what happened to Ingram. Look at him. He had a great year with Jacksonville.
Exactly. And it might happen for Daniel Jones even. He might go somewhere else and start for a little while and not embarrass himself. I don't think he'll ever be a star, but at least not embarrass himself. But it's not going to happen here. It's time. The moment has passed. And sometimes the best way is to rip off the Band-Aid. And now if the Band-Aid is going to cost you a ton of money, like it will this year for Daniel Jones, if we just cut him, then yeah.
When was the last time you spent $40 million on a Band-Aid?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Golden Band-Aid. So let's look at who we could potentially get this offseason here, because there's a few interesting options out here. Now,
and there's
everybody wants to talk about.
There's some of those that we're going to talk about. That's what there's some of those we're going to talk about, like that is very wide speculation. Like it's not going to be.
Yeah. No.
Probably plausible, but you have to talk about it.
The big thing people want to talk about is the draft. So we're going to save that part to the end. But I want you guys to keep in mind as we talk about other options. We're picking at 6, guys. We're not picking 1 or 2. We're not picking at 3. That means there may not be one of the top quarterbacks available when we pick. The Giants might not like some of the second-tier quarterbacks in this draft. We may not go that route. You never know. We don't know. Joe Shane's not going to tell me. He's not going to tell you. He's not going to tell anybody. And he shouldn't. Keep your damn mouth shut, Joe.
But Joe Shane, please tell me. Please.
Yeah, I wish you would tell me. I wouldn't tell you if he did. I'm just saying, Joe Shane, if you're listening, I wouldn't tell anybody. But again, I think I think you have to look at all the options because we have to improve the quarterback room. And the only way to do it is to give somebody a legitimate shot to compete with Daniel Jones. And in one of 2 scenarios is going to happen. Either they're going to beat out Daniel Jones, we haven't upgraded that position, or they're going to hopefully push Daniel Jones till we get the best version of Daniel Jones we possibly can next year. Now, I know they like to say the iron sharpens iron. I wouldn't say iron with these guys. Maybe, aluminum foil sharpens aluminum foil. I don't know.
Paper sharpens paper.
I don't know. Rock beats scissors. I don't know. But here's the options we got here as far as the signings, guys. Not officially a free agent yet, but everybody knows he's going to be Russell Wilson. We all know it's going to happen.
That's not a
Yeah,
Cutlets. That's the money. That's the money.
yeah, he's gonna want a lot of money. He has an ego. He's gonna want a guaranteed job. I don't think he's a fit for the Giants personally.
No. I mean, there's definitely, he showed last year that there's still more in the tank than we thought prior coming into this year. But do we want to get rid of a $40 million quarterback for how much is he worth right now? With this,
that's the thing with him. Keep in mind, when you sign a guy like Russell Wilson, you could, or even some of the guys we're going to talk about in a minute, you can also move the money around.
And you're just kicking the can down the road.
You are kicking the can down the road, but sometimes that's what you got to do. I know Joe Shane is like doing it. And when he first got here, he kept saying, I'm not going to kick the can down the road. And what did he do?
Kick the can down the road. I mean, he had to. So, I mean,
I'm not saying he didn't have to. I'm just saying he shouldn't have said that if that's what he was going to end up doing anyway.
I mean, he didn't want to, and
have to. Anyone could have told you he's going to have to.
Yeah, exactly.
That was obvious.
I mean, but there's certain moves, like when he said that, like, and he didn't sign certain people, like, you're like, all right, well, I guess that makes sense. He's not kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, but he did.
With some players, you're right.
You're
right.
You're saying Leonard Williams? Even kicked the can for Daniel Jones. But part of why the reason we're stuck with Daniel Jones next year is because they moved some of the money towards next year. Next up, we got Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is going to be a free agent. I think the Vikings are ready to move on. We talked about it before. I think it was week 17, the second to last week was their last final home game. And they brought him back to blow into that big horn and have the crowd goes crazy. And to me, that was a fitting, like, say goodbye to the fans, say goodbye to the area kind of thing. I think that was pretty obviously what it was.
Yes, I agree. I mean, at the beginning of the year, preseason, they kind of already made their – didn't come out and say, like, all right, we're done with Kurt after this year, but they kind of made the moves.
We knew.
That it was, it was coming. But once again,
we knew it there.
You're going to take another $40 million quarterback?
Well, that's part of the problem is you never know what some of these guys are worth. How many people do you think are going to be knocking the door down for Kirk Cousins right now? Let's be honest.
Atlanta.
Atlanta is first off, Atlanta, I'm telling you right now, if you're a free agent quarterback out there, Atlanta is the spot. The spot you should want to go.
100%.
But you go outside of it, the guys who need a quarterback, potentially Chicago, we'll get to that topic in a minute. The Commanders, the Patriots, the Giants, the Falcons, the Raiders. Most of these teams are going to get a quarterback in that first round. You get the first 3 picks, guys, are teams that we just talked about as needing quarterbacks, which just solidifies what I said about how important the position is. If you don't got one, you're in trouble. So, yeah, I think that there's not going to be a lot of spots for these guys, especially at their age. You know, he's in his mid-30s now at this point. The question comes into be is what the plan is for the Giants overall. And I think some of this might be a post-draft decision. Like if Kirk Cousins is still sitting around post-draft, let's say we can't get a quarterback to be like, the cost is too much to move up, whatever the case may be. And let's say you can bring in Kirk Cousins for a contract where you move some of the money around, you figure it out, and you figure a way to financially make it happen. Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. Kirk Cousins also has his limitations. He's the Marty Schottenheimer of quarterbacks. He'll get you to the playoffs. He can't get you into the playoff deep. So it's a good quandary because you go, okay, this guy won't embarrass us on the field, but we've seen we're probably not going to win a championship. He's not the big game quarterback. So is it worth putting money into a guy who's not the big game quarterback? Because I'll tell you, I think from my perspective, and I think most fans would say, it's not worth it. But if you're somebody like Joe Shane or Brian Dable that's worried about having a second bad season and losing your job, might be worth
different.
it. That changes your perspective on things when your livelihood's at risk. So, like I said, we'll have to see what happens there. But like I said, either one of them, I would personally go running to Atlanta. I'd even say the Raiders might even be a better option than us. I hate to say it.
Yeah, that's my second option.
And I've heard the Raiders. I've heard the Raiders actually for Russell Wilson. I've heard that rumor.
That would be very interesting.
Because he wants revenge on Sean Payton, and that gives him revenge twice a year.
Yep.
So
staying in the division.
Next up, we got some cheap options here, guys. We got cheap options. It's not just expensive guys we're talking about. Because like I said, I don't think that we're going to be able to afford these expensive guys. First cheap option we talked about on our free agent preview show here. And it's a guy that I don't think a lot of people would like necessarily if we signed him. And I think that it could be a whole lot worse than this guy. And that's Jameis Winston.
I think it would be very exciting. Granted, yes, he is the wish version of Brett Favre.
Yes.
like he is going to be your gunslinger, but he's going to get you more turnovers than, I guess.
See, but that's what intrigues me about him on the Giants. What was Daniel Jones' biggest issue before we hired Dable?
You're right. We've talked about this, the turnovers. And like in last year, he was one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterbacks with turnovers. And then this year,
last year. Yeah.
he digressed. Well, when I say last year, I mean the prior season.
I know what you mean now. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like,
I guess it's still technically the season. The Super Bowl hasn't happened yet.
Technically, yeah. But Super Bowl is in a week and a half and change.
I know. But yeah, like I said, I mean, there's no doubt the talent is there for Jameis Winston. The arm strength is there. The ability to make tight throws is there. It's just a matter of sometimes he tries to make the throws that are too tight.
Listen, like I think you get him, like the connection to Hyatt, to Slayton, to Waller. They'll make those three players look that much better. But at the same time, he's probably going to get you an average of 2.5 turnovers a game.
He only made, by the way, guys, $4 million last year. Spot Track, which does as far as free agents and what they think they're worth, has him valued at $2.7 million next year, and that's it. Like I said, that's a guy you can get cheap. And if that's where we end up, we go, we can't get a quarterback here. There's worse than bringing that guy in for 1 year. I really think.
What do we
Assuming
pay?
That we have faith in Dable to fix the issues.
What did we pay Tyrod last year? 9.
Tyrod?
Yeah,
I think it was like $5 million last year.
Yeah,
I think it was $5 million.
Last
year.
9 over the 2 years. So
yeah,
you get him cheaper than Tyrod. You say he's your backup. Quotations. People out there in podcast land, there's quotation marks. Bunny ears coming up.
Yeah,
but you get him. You can say he's your backup, but it's legit competition. For the
so yeah, his cap number last year, by the way, was $6.9 million for Tyrod Taylor last year. $6.9 million. He still actually counts $1.4 million this year because of a void year, because we could kick the can down the road. But again, I wouldn't even be upset necessarily if Jameis Winston wanted to come here, even if we drafted a quarterback and said, you know what, let's because we got Daniel Jones always injured. We have him coming off of an injury, and if Jameis Winston wants to come here on a prove-it contract, we can cut him if it doesn't work out. I would still be okay with that. I don't think he's going to have tons of options this year. I really don't. I don't think a lot of people have any faith in him whatsoever anymore.
I mean, he definitely, once again, Raiders. Bite.
I don't see it. I really don't. I think he's staring down the barrel of a backup job the rest of his career, unless he goes to a spot that has the potential to do something again and turn it around, because people have forgotten what he was. And I don't mean like he was a great player. but he was still a guy that led the league in interceptions and touchdowns in one season. So good and bad.
He's a guy that'll throw
You
400
get to the-
yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 picks.
3 interceptions, hopefully.
Yeah.
It could be 4 picks, 5 picks. That's the problem. So if he can get someone that fixes that, like Dable, it could be a steal. It's a low risk, potential good reward kind of scenario. I wouldn't say high necessarily, because
I was going to say, you can't say high.
Some of the interceptions, you're going to take away some of the touchdowns as well. I'm not expecting him to be Pro Bowl caliber, but I'm expecting that if Dable can get him fixed on some of these issues with the interceptions, he can be better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean, look what they did to DJ the prior season. I won't say last season, but the prior season.
The 23 season. Or 22 season.
They limit how much he throws downfield, and then limit how many turnovers he had.
Yeah.
But that's what Winston does. He'll throw you a 50-yard bomb multiple times a game, and it looks good. Looks great. Yay, we're down the field. But what happens? He might throw you that pick 6.
Reception. He will. He will. It's not might. He will. It's a matter of when. So, again, I don't think he crushes it. I don't think that's a slam dunk pick, but I think it's good as a backup plan in case, again, the draft doesn't work out in our favor. We can't afford some of the bigger name guys, or we just don't like them for the long term. We don't want to ruin money wise. There's worse options, guys. A couple other guys that kind of fit that same kind of mold. Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill made a ton of money last year with the Titans. He's not going to make that kind of money. I'm not sure really what's left in the tank for him at this point. But, again, he's a guy you could bring in on a 1-year deal to compete with Daniel Jones. Especially I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, if he I don't know. I'm not so sure if he'd beat out Daniel Jones at this point. He couldn't beat out Will Levis. But
I don't know if that's the full scenario there, because I feel like they were just like, all right, Tannehill, you got hurt. Levis, you came in. You played similar football than you did with Tannehill. Like, you're supposed to be our future. Let's give you the opportunity to play. And we know we're not making the playoffs.
So, Tannehill on the season, 64.8 completion percentage, 1,616 yards, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 78.5 QB rating.
How many
starts? Pretty bad. Now, I will say this. I have to go to that page to see it. I'm on the Google quick one here. Make me look at something else, but his QB rating is usually always higher than that. It's just 10 games, 8 starts. So he started half the year, basically. But, I mean, prior to that, he's rated 94.6, 89.6, 106.5, 117.5, 92.7, 93.5, 88.7, 92.8. He's 35 years old, though, guys. That's the time when people start losing that ability. So I think that kind of scares me, and that's like to me a bottom of the barrel option. Like, I got no other option. I need a quarterback. I need somebody I can put in there in case Daniel Jones isn't ready. Again, there's 2 schools of thought. The school of thought that I think Joe Shane and Brian Dable will go is they need somebody who they can win with. The other school of thought is if you can't get somebody, you say, you know what? I hate to say it, but this year might be another wash until we get a good quarterback. Let's just get somebody in there. And that Daniel Jones is a somebody. Ryan Tannehill is a somebody. So, next up, though, I think is an interesting option. Though I do think Indy will try to do everything they can to keep him. And that's the stash himself, Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is a guy that is a backup. You could sign him to a long-term deal and not be worried about that. He is a backup in this league. But he's got enough starting that you can sit there and have him start all year long, even if need be. And you don't worry about it.
He practically did it this year, and
this year
pretty good doing it.
Yeah. I wouldn't say good, but it looked not horrible. I'll put it that way. I mean,
He definitely has some
on
good
the
games out
season,
there.
62.2% completion percentage, 3,305 yards, had 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and had a QB rating of 84.6. Again, he doesn't embarrass himself, and that's why he's a good backup.
Yeah, and he started,
But
10
he's
games
also,
this year?
again, not the guy that you're going to win with long term. So 13 games this year, I said. He was in all 17 because Anthony Richardson can never be injured. But that's also why you sit there and say, okay, is Indy really going to let this guy go? I don't think they do. They need insurance.
No,
they need a just-in-case policy. But he's a free agent. It's his call. And he knows he's not the long-term answer there. Yeah. So, and you're not gonna franchise a backup quarterback, so it's his call in the end. So we got one more potential free agent, guys. And this one, I'm telling you right now, I'd be shocked if this happens. Absolutely.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Absolutely shocked. But you can't not mention the best potential quarterbacks to come out in this year and not mention the guy who just totally went crazy at the end of the season. And that's Wacko Flacco at that point.
January
Joe Flacco.
Flacco. January Joe.
Jersey boy himself. On the year, 5 games, 5 starts, was 60.3% completion percentage, 1,616 yards, had 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, had a quarterback rating of 90.2. So, again, not a bad year, but if you think about it, low percentage, high interceptions. I think people love this story because he had a 38-year-old quarterback coming off the couch, Justin Pugh style, and doing that. I don't think that's something realistic to expect to keep going the entire season.
No.
So I'm putting him on the list because you can't not have a list of the guys who are available in free agents this year and not include him. But no, I wouldn't go after him at all. Unless you would disagree, Rob.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you said, his age is just by itself. You're going to sign him for a year.
It's also, like I said, I don't think his numbers are that good last year. I really don't.
He had a good hot streak,
interceptions,
but it mattered.
Percentage. Yeah.
I mean, they also came towards the end, towards the playoffs. But
yeah,
because I think his first 3 games he didn't have a turnover.
And then of course we got the trade option. Yeah, I'd have to look it up. To be honest with you, I don't have that in front of me here. Let me see if I can get it. Of course, my computer doesn't want to run very game log. Let's see. Nope, he definitely had interceptions at the get-go. He had interception every single game. 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1. I
lied to you. I apologize out there.
Yeah, his interceptions were definitely there. He threw interception on basically 4% of his passes. That's pretty damn high.
Yeah.
So let's say guys we could trade for at that point, because we got a couple of guys also we could trade for. Now the biggest question obviously in this draft really is who's going number 1. And if the Bears stay where they are, the first overall pick, and they take Caleb Williams, that means they're moving on from Justin Fields. So do they keep Justin Fields or do they trade Justin Fields? And that's going to be the interesting one there. I would trade him personally, but I mean, again, they could easily keep him if they really wanted to and sit him for a year and have him be the backup just in case. Or if they don't have confidence in the offensive line, or they don't have confidence in Caleb Williams at the beginning of the season, they can keep throwing him out to the Wolves and not care about the outcome. Hate to word it that way, but it's a business. That's where they're at.
Yeah.
My question comes to be, and I've heard this option mentioned, and I'm not necessarily against it per se, but if the Giants trade for him and let him and Daniel Jones battle it out, my questions coming to be is 2 things. One, is Justin Fields better than Daniel Jones? I'm not so sure. 2,
It's a different skill set.
yeah, it is. But I'm saying 2, if hypothetically Justin Fields outplays Daniel Jones and starts and does decent next year, now he's a free agent. We're going to sign him to a long-term deal like we did with Daniel Jones, potentially be in the same exact boat in 2 more years.
I mean, it also depends on what we do in the draft.
It does. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about in these scenarios if we don't draft a quarterback hypothetically and we go with a different route because we just don't have a quarterback we like available to us. And I don't see the many pros of Justin Fields. Unless you're just having a body for a year and you really expect that to happen. And you can get him for a pick. Get him, like a 4th round pick, what the hell? Why not?
Which I doubt, but
I'm just saying. Because that's what
you're saying, but I just doubt.
Do you want to give up a draft pick when you have so many holes and not a lot of money this offseason? For a guy that's you've already seen for 3 years.
I'm also not sold that the Bears give him up.
I'm not so sure they give him up either way. They might go Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1 overall. I'm just saying, if they do. The other guy that we could trade for, who intrigues me more, but the one that scares me is his age, and that's Hendon Hooker. So Hendon Hooker, obviously 3rd round pick last year of the Lions, coming out of Tennessee, was Jalen Hyatt's quarterback in college. That's a kind of a key fun part there. But he's 26 years old, and he'd basically be coming in as a rookie. He's the same age as Daniel Jones, guys, and never played it down in this NFL yet. That's kind of scary. So, but the other part that you got to think about is, do the Lions hold on to him as a backup?
I think so.
I don't know, because all accounts are that Teddy Bridgewater plans to retire. And if he retires, Hendon Hooker is a cheap backup. But then you also look at the issue of, now you have a guy who's 26 years old. He's got 3 more years on his contract. You're going to let him go at 29 years old, never playing it down potentially if Jared Goff never gets hurt? It's not really fair to him.
Yeah, I don't see Jared Goff being the long-term answer as well, but
they're going to sign him to an extension this offseason. I guarantee you it. Guarantee you it. So that's what I'm saying. To me, it's like, I feel bad for Hendon Hooker because I feel like that's the plan for him, is they're going to make him the backup because Teddy Bridgewater is retiring, and they can do it cheap. They're going to have to pay a ton of money to Jared Goff so they can kind of keep the quarterback room at a reasonable cost. But then that's what you got. That's what you got there. So, but if we can get him, and we can get him for a decent pick, and we think he's a better option than who's available in the draft at those same picks, I'm not against it, guys. I'm not sold on it, but I'm not against it.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Let's pay the bills real quick, guys, and then we're going to go into the last part here, the draft. Oh, yes, the draft. Everybody loves to talk about the draft.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
The draft.
All righty, let's get into the draft, guys, here for you guys, because that's the biggest topic, really. Let's be honest, as far as the Giants and the quarterback room go here. So we're going to give you guys during this draft season here an episode on each of the draftable quarterbacks here, and give you guys our thoughts and our breakdowns and all of them. But I guess the question comes to the beginning is we're talking about what we're doing with the quarterback room is draft. So in draft, a lot of the analysis thinks out of NC and of course Jaden Daniels out of LSU. Those guys might not be available, guys, by the time we pick. That's something we have to think about and have to kind of learn to look as an option, because we might not have any of those guys available to us. If that were to be the case, we'd have to trade up to get them. How much do you want to trade up for these guys? How much are they worth it to you? We all know, again, quarterback is the most important position in this entire league. And if you don't have one, again, you're kind of screwed. But at the same point, if you don't have anything but a quarterback, you're not in great shape either. So do we want to go and get a quarterback and give up a lot of picks? Or do we want to go and give up and get a quarterback and not give up any picks? Because you're not going to get any of those big three potentially that way. Now you're looking at the second tier. And that's guys like Bo Nix out of Oregon, Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington, J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan, and those guys are all guys that, listen, you might like them, you might not like them. There's a lot of varying degrees on those guys, but they don't get the same hype as the big three. And if you take any of those at pick 6, you're picking them probably way too early. You're making a Daniel Jones mistake. Don't forget, what pick was Daniel Jones? I think he was number 6, was he not?
8. I think.
And everybody said that was way too early. No, his uniform's number 8. I thought he was the 6th pick in the draft.
You might be right.
Make me look it up. So, yeah, he was a 6th overall pick. So you got to look at it now with the perspective of, do you then trade back to get one of these guys? Do you then hope that one of them's available in the second round? How many of those guys do you like? Because that's part of it as well. If the Giants only like one of those guys, for example, then you're going to probably trade back into the middle of the first round and take them maybe a little bit early, but be there to ensure you get your guy. And I think that's going to be the case for some of these guys. I think some of these coaches are going to like these guys a lot and want to take them. I think that the biggest one on that is J.J. McCarthy. I feel like he's going to be a guy that people are going to love or hate. People that think very good of him or very bad of him. And the people that think very good of him, I think that they're going to go ahead and really be interested in taking him in like the mid-first round. Bo Nix is a guy who struggled this week here as we look at the Senior Bowl. I think his stock is dropping. Michael Penix Jr. has looked better than Bo Nix, but he hasn't excelled at the Senior Bowl. So I think his stock is kind of staying where it was. Another guy who might get thrown to this mix here is Spencer Rattler, who is from South Carolina, and his stock is rising because he kind of hung there with Penix and Nix, and he wasn't necessarily thought of in that same category. So he might be a guy that kind of starts moving up. Based on his pro day, based on what he does to the combine, he might move up in the rankings there. So we'll have to keep an eye. But guys, I'm telling you, it's such an interesting offseason for us at this position, because it's, again, a position we're already paying a guy a lot of money, a position that some guys haven't given up on that guy, a position that's a strong spot in the draft by all accounts, and a position where there's actually going to be some free agents available. This is just such an important position, guys. And I look at it and go, this is an offseason that what we do at this position could set this team backwards or forwards for the next decade. Legitimately
at least half
could.
of it.
So we'll keep an eye out. Again, as things get close to the draft, guys, we will go ahead and give you guys a full rundown on each of the quarterbacks that we mentioned here today in the draft. So keep an eye out for that, because I still think bets are we're going to get one of them. Bets are one of them is going to be that blue jersey next year. We'll see which one it's going to be, but like I said, keep an eye out. Once we get done with the state of the team, we'll probably start breaking down the picks and the guys at that point there. So keep an eye out. We don't like to do it too early because let's be honest, things change. How many times in January, February, you hear things and what ends up happening in April is nowhere near it. But
a lot.
March, end of February, you got to have a better idea. So we want to kind of give that time to kind of let some of the smoke clear out there. So keep an eye out for that. Appreciate you guys listening in as always, as we talk about the sad state of our quarterback room there. We will see you guys again on Monday.
Monday.
So we'll talk about my experiences at the Pro Bowls. I'll be at the Pro Bowl this weekend here. I will try to get in and see if I can potentially sneak my way in to talk to some people. We'll
Sexy
see.
Dex.
Listen, I haven't heard back from the Giants on that at all. So Panhandling got originally out to me, and I haven't heard anything back. So I'm not going to hold my breath on that one there. But listen, if I spot somebody that I have a chance to talk to, I am ready, able, and willing to have that conversation with them. I got portable microphones with me. I got a tripod set up with me and everything. So we'll make it nice and simple. So we'll see what happens there. I'll try to get some for you guys there. If not, I shall give myself lashings. But either way, we'll talk about the Pro Bowl and how the experience was. Because listen, I got to be honest. Part of it for me is I'm curious what goes on at the Pro Bowl. Like, what is it like going to the Pro Bowl, especially the way it is now? So
Flag football.
I was kind of curious. It's flag football. It's competition skills, all these kind of things, and it's a long day. I think we go in at like 3:00 in the afternoon, so it's a long day. So like I said, it should be fun. Should be good to see everybody up close. I'm kind of curious to see some of this stuff here. Kind of curious to boo Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott, but all right, guys. So again, we'll see you guys on Monday, and we'll have more for you guys than just that. I'm sure there'll be a lot of coaching news and stuff like that. So we'll see you guys then. As always, Giant fans, go G-Man!
Happy weekend.
G-Man.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.